Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Joan Milliman here, who is the secretary for the Golden Rain Foundation. Welcome, nice to see you.
It's nice to be here.
Thanks for coming in on this rainy morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Swim here.
Almost drowned on the way.
So, Madam Secretary, I just love saying that. So, you know, it's a very important job. And,
yes.
You know, you have to take lots of notes because you need to record a lot of things. But then you want me to ask you the question, you know, how does the secretary relate to the table? Well, first of all, what's the table? And then, of course, how does the secretary relate to the table?
Well, the table is a table.
You mean the table? Okay.
The secretary used to be known as the clerk of the meeting.
Right.
And the clerk sat at a table in the meeting. And the motion could be a motion that was not to be discussed was placed on the table during an urgent matter. Something would interrupt the meeting, and it was important. And so they'd lay it on the table and then take it up after that matter was done. And they have to take it off the table.
I see.
So today, we have the motion to lay on the table. Not the secretary, excuse me.
Okay.
So the motion to table something's usually used incorrectly today. They usually mean postpone something for a time, but that's not what's said. So if you lay something on the table, you have to take it off, and that requires another motion and so on. But it's unfair to just, you can leave it on the table, and if you left it on the table for the next meeting, it kills that motion.
But that doesn't happen, does it?
It's not supposed to.
Yeah.
So the proper use is to temporarily set something aside so that something urgent can be addressed. Like the governor is going to visit in the middle of or perhaps the power went out, or a sudden emergency of some kind, you know, so you never know. But if something's laid on the table and not removed before the end of the next meeting, as I said, it dies.
It dies. Okay.
So because it requires a motion to take it off the table,
Right.
and then you go back to where you were.
But evidently people are forgetting to do the motion.
Well, what we've tried to do is encourage people to motion to postpone something time certain, until a certain time, or until something is done.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we get occasional things that need to interrupt a meeting, like someone coming in to give a special presentation from the city, for example. And that would stop things, and we have to go by the timing that they can get in.
Right.
And it might be in the middle of something else we're doing.
Now, of course, you don't sit separately from everybody else. You sit in the
I sit in a
half circle,
certain
right?
place. I sit to the right of the chair.
Okay.
And that's because we can confer if we need to. And just mostly I have to make sure that things are in order. And
Yeah. Well, good. Well, that's a big job. And as I mentioned, you take lots of notes because you have to make sure you've got who is, you know, like you said, the motion and who seconded the motion.
My main job is to vet the agenda before it's up, and to look at the minutes before they're published.
I see.
Because my name goes on the bottom.
You sign off on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you guys have some great accomplishments that happened here all the way up until now. Let's talk about them.
Okay, well, it's December, so I thought it'd be nice to look backwards. And we've already done our accomplishments a couple of times in November. But anyway, some of the highlights are, well, the Equestrian Center has seen many improvements and different usage, including the Renaissance Fair and other things.
Yep.
The new operating system software is amazing. It's cloud-based, and it's known as the ERP, which stands for Enterprise Resource Planning.
Okay.
And this upgrade will give the system a streamlined, so it's incorporating other systems that we already have. It's going to cut out a lot of paperwork and consolidate obsolete systems, which are no longer serviced by the current software.
Right.
It's going to give us all greater security and efficiency, because it's harder to break into it.
Good.
Because it's in the cloud.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's good to know. And also, you mentioned, paper, it's also going to save a lot of time.
Time and energy, and it'll service us as a community better with more efficient service. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Right now they're working on financials, and we won't see a lot yet, but you will next year.
Okay.
There have been lots of cost savings that we've mentioned before. The landscape has started using automated sprinklers, which are regulated by weather, not timers.
Oh, perfect.
So when it's raining, they stop. They don't go on. Or
Yeah.
vehicle replacement policy has been developed that where we'll save over $600,000 by getting vehicles that either eliminating some vehicles and changing some to more efficient styles. And of course, there's always negotiations to improve fees from Laguna Woods City and West Coast Internet. And of course, the budget process itself is always being revised. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 versions of it, and they're cutting out things that they can cut out all the time. We've had various improvements to the tennis courts. They've been resurfaced. Pickleball courts have new lights.
Yep.
And those are the main highlights I wanted to mention today.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
And next slide.
And then you're looking forward to 2023.
Oh, yeah. And one of the most interesting things for me is the improvements in the website. You will find it easier to find things, and just you'll have a different look, not entirely different. We're working on, there's a consultant going to come in and work with us who knows about these things.
Good.
And will help us put it all together. Our website is hundreds of pages long.
Right. And sometimes it's a little hard to find things. So
A little hard, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I always go to is the search button. So at least if you go to search and you type in a word, sometimes you're going to find things that are related to that. So it might be a little easier, but that's going to be a great
By that
improvement,
time, you'll get the actual word you want.
Yeah.
Today, you might put in, something, and you get teacups or something like that. You get nothing to do. Well, you have to know where to look now on the website.
Exactly.
And of course, the Building E replacement. Building E is an administrative building with the staff, and it's a very important building. It's where we house security and M&C and landscape, and it's been noted for several years that it needs to be replaced.
Okay.
And so we're working on that right now, and you'll see something happening soon.
Okay.
And then the transition from cable to internet. Many people are already doing this.
Yeah.
And they just go to the internet, and you can get almost everything you can get on cable. And the fact is, cable is disappearing, not just here, but all over.
Exactly.
As we improve, stuff in the air.
Exactly. Well, and satellite too.
Absolutely. And of course, GRF continues maintenance and improvement of all the amenities and buildings, and you'll see that continuing throughout the year.
Great.
The GF board is a very talented team. Each member has gifts to share, and we all work closely with the BMS staff and the other boards.
Right.
Okay.
And that's, you've got, so this is interesting. So inaccurate information costs us all money. What do you mean by that?
It costs us money by either the staff researching for the accuracy and taking the time to do it, or legal fees if it isn't accurate and people sue us.
Yikes.
It gets to be that serious. Or maybe the people who are sending out the inaccurate information are suing with inaccurate information. So, and every time there's something like that, we have to answer. We, meaning our legal team, has to answer. So that costs us money. I mean, not just, it's not GRF. GRF is you guys. I mean, you, the residents. And we're all residents, and we all have to do that. So So how do you find accurate information? First of all, the actual board meeting or committee meetings, you can go to them.
Yep.
Most of them are here in the boardroom. Another source right now is What's Up in the Village, the weekly email that we get. That's very informative. And of course, the Great Breeze magazine, which has some extended articles on different issues.
Right.
And website documents, especially if you go to the agendas, because in the agendas you'll find the backup for whatever's coming up in the meeting. And that's an important source. Most people don't go to the agendas because it looks daunting.
Right.
But that's a place to find information.
Well, especially if you are looking for something in particular, right? And you want to, and you can always tune in virtually as well.
Absolutely.
It's either on Granicus, or there are oftentimes they can go to the website and they can click on governance and the agenda, and then click on that and they can also see it there.
No, that went by pretty fast. So.
Well, if you ever need information, of course, they could always.
But it is published.
Yeah, exactly.
It's published in the Breeze. How to get there is published in the Breeze, and it has also been on the weekly emails. And I think it may have been in the Globe. The Globe is a very good resource for information on clubs and so on, among other things. You got to be careful with letters to the editor because sometimes those letters have not been checked. And that has to do with freedom of speech. Anyone can say almost anything in public.
Right.
But if you are the person passing the information along, find out about it. Make sure that it's correct. And if you're the person reading the information, what is the source? Where did that information come from? So that's what I have to say today.
Well, that's good information because, you know, it's good that you point those things out because oftentimes people have different types of sites that are really sites for arguing and they send out misinformation and things like that. But I like the fact that you tell people, check your sources and do your own fact checking.
Absolutely, and it's available. And if you can't find it, you can call. You can call you can call the CEO's office, as a matter of fact.
You could, but we also have an email that you could send information to as well. And so we'll go ahead and refer everybody to that one. And then it'll be sent off to the appropriate person.
Catherine would be the... Catherine Laster.
Okay, perfect.
Poor gal. But she's a very good source.
Well, thank you very much for the information. I truly appreciate it. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, thank you. May you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a blessed New Year.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, if you want any information about what we have discussed, you can always send an email to generalmanager@vmsinc.org, and it will go to the appropriate person. We'll be right back.